Now, the girl, child, the woman, they're the most vulnerable on the internet.
Oh yeah.
There's so much evidence that indicates that statement that I have just made. And more so in an environment where there's such little awareness on how to behave on the internet and how to guard ourselves without overlooking the factor of our own personal human insecurities, which are reflected 1,000 times when you go online. So what is your advice to every woman out there who has a little girl in the house and not necessarily locking them out of this internet thing and robbing them of the opportunities that are there, but at the same time creating this environment where they are safe? Because now if I give my child a phone and there is a possibility of a sexual predator locking in and connecting with my child and robbing my child of this innocence, I think we need to be worried.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, really.
So my question is, perhaps, what are you going to tell the parents who have little girls in their houses?
First of all, girls are more vulnerable because they are more social.
Yes.
You know, a girl, as long as they have connected with you, they will give you all the 411s. You know, whatever you want to know. And the other thing that I always love saying about girls are always trying to meet 3 needs emotionally. They want affirmation, they want appreciation, and they want approval.
Everything a sexual predator has.
Yes. Actually, they position themselves to meet that needs. And so they've been having a mom who disapproves them, and then they have someone here who understands, who listens,
accepts.
You know, and someone who accepts them unconditionally, because sometimes they're even struggling with self-image. You know, they want someone who can tell them, you are beautiful, you know, you look good, don't worry about those pimples. And of course, the other thing is affirmation, someone who believes in them. And so if those needs are not being met physically, they will go online. And guess what, Mokami? This is a need that women are looking for as adults because it was not met when they were young girls. Yeah. Those 3 things. And that is how they even end up in dysfunctional relationships when they grow up, because those needs were not met. Now, coming back to this girl, she is online, she's vulnerable, she's living in an environment that is so critical, she's living in an environment where she's abandoned,
she has
does
access.
the house chores, and of course she has access,
yes.
So she has a way of meeting her need. And the other thing is that girls are social. I'd say that their need for connecting is innate. You know, they have how many words to speak? 10,000
a day.
Oh yeah, so even chatting counts. You know, so nobody has been talking to them, or probably they're even struggling with physical relationships. That is why we discourage children from spending too much time online, because then they don't know how to build relationships and even to mend them when they break down. So imagine this child probably struggling with like a child probably is struggling with some deviance in school, so they have lost so many friends. So when they come home, they have to compensate, because the fact there is resentment in that environment. So nobody was talking to them, nobody loves them, nobody appreciates them. They have all this anxiety, so they come and vent online. You know, and you don't know how far they will go into chat rooms and into all other places and just blurt it out. And of course, the other problem is that girls nowadays are able to post, you know, like 20-year-old.
As older.
12. Oh yeah.
As older. They will wear makeup, they will wear older clothes.
Oh yeah.
And they will look older.
Even in their profile and information, they will just look like mature, because they believe when I'm mature, I'll attract mature people. And so these 12-year-olds probably nabs a 26-year-old. Yeah, and of course some of them are intentionally going online because of curiosity. They want to know how
and that
sponsor wanatokanga wapi.
In the need.
Oh yeah, because they have a need
to satisfy
that is not met.
Something that they're already missing in their offline world.
Imagine. And so when they come online, now that one blows up the vulnerability. And of course, because they are trusting, then they will actually more easily go out to meet that person. And of course, now that is because also there's nobody holding the fort. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody cares whether they took tea at 4 p.m. after school.
Mommy or daddy doesn't know whether this child has a
Everything
Facebook
was left
page.
in the fridge. You know, just sort yourself out. There's one school that we went to and still asking the same question about our program. What is your giant? One child said, it's my tablet and my laptop. That is a child in class 5.
You can't disconnect.
So of course you realize this is a child who is the parent is trying to overcompensate them. And of course, researching further, probably there is a single mom baby. You know, so you have to keep them busy after school until the time you will come. But now it is a giant to them because they feel how they are existing online is not appropriate. And so it's about looking at it and realizing that the girl is more vulnerable, first of all, because most sexual predators are men, the ones who are online.
Yes.
And so they are looking for girls. That makes them vulnerable. And of course, the other thing is also the fact that they are social and the fact that they have emotional needs that have to be met. And of course, girls are trusting.
Exactly.
They are very
It's
trusting.
in our nature.
It is in our nature.
Yes.
Yeah, including sometimes even people who pose as spiritual and they still go.
So I
show
know
up in that space.
I happen to know that you've got some very special programs that are specially designed for girls.
Oh yeah.
You want to tell us about that?
Pretty Pals. Pretty
Okay.
Pals.
Okay.
You know, and Pretty Pals is just telling them you are beautiful. Everything you've gone through is part of your beauty. Pretty Pals is a coaching program for 10 to 15-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and with the reason we do it from 10, it's because we are trying to do more prevention than actually correction.
Okay.
We don't want them to go into teenagehood crisis, and that is when we're trying to fix everything. We want to deal with it earlier.
Okay.
And one of the things we help these girls is on 3 ends. Number one is confidence, because we want to raise confident girls. You know, confident in themselves, confident, because sometimes even the reason they're taken advantage on online is because they're not confident.
Yes.
You know, they're not even able to say no.
Yes.
No, you're taking this too far.
Yes.
When you ask me for nudes.
Yes.
You know, and of course the other thing is purpose, so that they know that I am here for something bigger. And even being online, beyond that, there is another life. This is what God has in store for me, so that they are able to stay focused, which is the third goal. We want girls who are focused, and that is why we help them on personality. We help them to discover their gifts early, so that they can start functioning in their strength. You know, because we believe when a girl is building from inner strength, where they are the ones who are inspiring and motivating themselves, and where they have values which are guiding their lives, then it will be easier for them to exist anywhere. One analogy that I love about guys that I believe were teenagers is the 3 guys in Babylon. The fact that they did not bow down. You know, their mother was not there to spank them, you know, or even to call them to order. It is because they had values. And so even when they go into a different environment, they're still able to stand with what they believe and their convictions.
Amazing.
And that is what we trust to build. You know, we want to build, especially through girls. And of course, even guys, our program for Facing Giants is for both. We mix them up.
Okay.
But now when you're doing the retreats, we do it for girls only.
Okay.
Because we still believing girls are more vulnerable. And the other thing I believe with all my heart, because in our mentorship program we also mentor adult women, is to just make sure girls are growing up functional.
Yes.
You know, because instead of trying to fix these women when they've come here, because one of the survey we do when we do Manarize is to ask them, when did your dysfunction begin? Most of them it was when they were young.
Yes.
You know, so what if we are healing the young girls so that they can be functional? Some of them are in marriages that are even breaking apart. Why? Because they got married for the wrong reasons. Why? Because they are looking for the 3 needs that I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So what if this girl comes to the affirmation and the assurance and believing in herself, and then she's going forth in life?
Absolutely.
She's more likely to raise a whole generation.
Amazing.
Yeah, because by the end of the day, it's a wise woman who builds her own house.
True.
You know?
Yes.
So if this girl is whole, she'll be the woman tomorrow that is building a whole
generation.
a whole generation.
Okay.
Regardless of who marries her, regardless of what happens to her, our conversation is because we don't know the fate of children. You know? Nothing is cast on a stone.
Yes.
Sometimes you can raise them so well, and sometimes they still end up being single mothers. You know? But so long as they are whole and functional, they can be able to bounce back from the adversities of life.
Yes.
And still raise functional children, because by the end of the day, Mukami, my concern is for children,
Yes.
even for the next generation. Even as we're doing Pretty Pals, it's because we want to see great moms tomorrow.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the areas that Stay Safe Online is very interested in working in is in schools. Do you work with school communities?
I have worked with schools. Actually, when we started our program, we piloted it in 5 schools
Okay.
at the same time,
Yes.
and we were targeting upper primary schools.
Okay.
In the past, like in the 12 years, let's say like 8 of it I've done with high schools.
Okay.
You know, and initially it was girls' schools.
Yes.
And like this thingy of me and girls has been there for long.
Okay.
And then now we come to upper primary school, because now we're still thinking of prevention.
Yes.
Instead of coming to resolve a crisis when they're already battling with hormones and physical changes, they are moody, they're bothered about pimples, why don't you just go and handle it early in advance? And so now by doing it as a preventive, first of all, it was amazing that it was so effective. And amazingly is that 70% of the issues they raised were coming from home. All the 5 schools, different economic status, because 3 of them were private, and then 2 were public schools. You know, like public Kanjo schools. And then of course the others. But just looking at the issues, because we will tell them to write 3 things that they feel if they are dealt with, I'll be okay. you know, and 70% of those issues, either it's a personal internal crisis that this child has or it's coming from home. School was a very small percentage. So it is actually a reality that many children are coming to school dysfunctional. It has nothing to do with the teacher. It's not the maths teacher. It's not the chemistry teacher.
Way back from home.
It's actually a baggage they came with from home. And so through those filters, then they even struggle academically. And so by working with schools, it was very revealing. But one of the things that I love about schools, that is the only place where you can access them together.
Okay.
And so school is actually a place
Provides a community.
Oh yeah, a community
Yes.
where you can reach out to 100 families
At the
through
same
one
time.
conversation.
Yes.
And one of the things we always inspire the children is that God will use you to take change, even back at home. Don't just see yourself here, because sometimes
You're a seed.
we might never meet that family. We might never meet that mom or that dad. But this child can actually be the revolution in that family.
Correct. Correct. So access is a big topic that we cannot cover in one sitting, and I think it affects a lot of things. It affects who we are, our personalities, where we come from, and it will eventually affect where we're going. How we access the internet in our homes will really determine a lot of things in how future generations will behave, culture, and eventually our destiny. So access is something that we're going to continuously look at in different ways. That is, it's a topic that is going to be covered in very, very many forms, and it's a word that will keep coming up. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Yay.